All right, Shalom, Israel, giving all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakah Kadash, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, double honors to the apostles, elders, bishops, great millstone. My salutation to the brothers teaching the word for the hopeful elect, soon to be the elect, most high will. To the hopeful extended elect, Shalom, blessings. Men, women, and children. It's a real quick video. This is what we mean by Israelite foreigner. Now, when we mention to these anti-Christians things like mannerisms, like what kind of food you eat, you know, the way you dress or whatever, which is, really don't got corely to do with, who you are in the spirit, but it definitely expresses, you know, to a certain extent, because, we know people, you have impersonators and people that imitate, just like this video I'm about to show. But you can see the spirit in this child. Now, this is, a little kid from Indonesia. I'm not gonna play the sound, but I'm gonna play the footage. And he looks like Jake. You know, what I was gonna say, that you do got imitators, imposters, and stuff that he was on beat too. He had rhythm, he had groove, which Jake does. Like there's a saying, white people can't dance. There's another saying, white people can't jump. They had an actual movie that, so mannerisms do matter. And, the American churches might say, that sounds like vanity. Like, why would God worry about that? Well, it talks about Esau and Jacob, different mannerism, different manner of people, man. How you going to skip these things in the scriptures? Like, going back to Genesis 25 and 23. And the Lord said, and to her, two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. We know that story like the back of our hand. The world should know that story by now. Go into that word, manner. Allah Ma, I think. Yeah, Allah Ma. Turn it up.
Strong's H 3816. Le'om. Le'om.
or la'am. Yeah, la'am. People, nation, the root meaning together, community, nation, people. Yeah, so meaning if you have a manner about you, then you have a manner of according to your nation, according to your so-called community, your people. So there's a way that so-called black people eat. That's the way that they, you know, dance. It's the way that they, they say their words as far as slang words. And the same with Esau. That's why we ask the average, you know, if you look like an Edomite, you might be a Jake. But if you look like one, we say, how do you like your steak? And if you say rare, done, or bloody, then it's like, whoa, you're leaning to the left, you know. Other net mannerisms too, you know. Uh, and a lot of times comedians on their stand up, they always mention these characteristics between the so-called black Latino, so-called black, Slovakian, and so-called white. Just like it got that phrase like you're invited to the barbecue, you know, meaning there's a an acceptance of a so-called white person that you know hits on point with just being naturally soulful or naturally, like if he could sing and he sings with soul. There's a couple of singers that sing with soul and they look like so-called white people, but I believe they're Jake. But you know, and then they say, well, they're invited to the barbecue, or if they do a MJ impression on point, they say, oh man, he did that. So certain times Jake give a pass. Now, even with celebrities, a lot of these young people may not know her. Her name is Tina Marie. I was going to do something on her too, but she's what you would call a part of the Blue Eyed Soul, group. But she's definitely an Israelite. You could see how she dances, sings. She got a unique voice. Nobody got a voice like her in the world. And she plays the guitar and she raps, They call her chocolate soul or a vanilla choc, which is another term for the blue-eyed soul people, as well as others, man. So, when you look on the outwardly appearance and you go by, what part of a group somebody is, it's not always the case. There's our people are scattered among all nations, like it says. And if you're saying that black people, the tribes are all black, you're really denying the fatherhood of the nation itself, because your father, when he lays down with any race of women, that seed comes out of that woman's womb is his seed. So, Quincy Jones's daughter looks like a so-called white girl. She's a young woman now. She looks like a white person, what you would call white in America. But we don't go off of color either. We don't go off of black and white. So, but mannerism, yeah, it's in there. Even another example of the manners, it says, after the manner of Sarah, meaning to do Sarah. So if you got a household and you got a father and mother and children, the children supposed to do after the manner of their father and mother, which is supposed to be, not leave the people those mannerisms. That's how we grew up. This is what we used to. This is what black people love to eat. They got what do you call it? A mockery against us with watermelon and chicken, which everybody loves those foods. They even have a video I saw where white people eat, it's so-called white people are having a watermelon eating contest. So it wasn't only Negroes that was doing that. But anyway, everything is exercised, ostracized, emphasized, magnified when it comes to our behavior, you know, especially when it's negative. Anyway, Genesis of 18:11. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. So, because all women, yeah, all women get pregnant. All women, have this common thing about them as far as being women. They all grow breasts, They all have breasts to breastfeed. Uh, the common woman, well, back then they used to have long hair, you know. So it's different. I mean, it's let me get there, and I think it's that same definition. But I'll start to close out. Well, this is another manner. It says, "Ara."
Strong's H734. Orach.
No,
Orach.
it's like that's kha, arak, arak, which is way, path, way of living. So that same thing with a nation. If you want, you want to be particular about it. Like when certain people, they live a certain life. You know, but of course, with no supervision, no order, and no structure, people do what they want to do as thou will. They're influenced by society, influenced by America. So our people are doing what they want to do. But back then, according to Israel, we had customs, we had laws, we had, statutes and commandments. We had a structural house. That's why, a woman can cry out like hell because, she got abused by a man, raped by a man. But that wouldn't really be the case if there was fatherly supervision. He would have brothers, she would have uncles, and they would have, all the men would protect the households, protect the what do you call it, the family, just like the lion, protects his kingdom. And he had many lioness, but his duty. They say, well, the lioness always be the one to go out there and catches the meal and bring. Lions are lazy; they just sit around and do nothing and just pop all these lioness. But they hold down the kingdom though. They protect the kingdom. Anyway, but yeah, going back. Such thing as mannerisms, man. And it could easily deal with where you're from, what people you came from, and your spirit itself, So Esau has a spirit of blood and murder, and he eats blood. He eats raw meat, bloody steak, So those are some of the characteristics that and mannerism that Esau has that identifies him as Esau. Anyway, hope it is edifying. Till the next video. Shalom. Oh yeah, and it's like I forgot to mention back with the Israelite foreigners scattered among our people that look like Chinese, that look like Indian, East Indians, that look like Ethiopians, what have you, that look like other nations. but they're really Jake because they got the spirit of Jake and they got the mannerisms of Jake. He's a smooth man dwelling in tents. You know? Anyway, shalom.